Hey, everybody. On this episode of Act, Achieve, Live, I'm going to talk about how to remind yourself of what you're leaving behind and why it's so critical and why it's so important. In fact, reminding yourself of what you're leaving behind is just as important as determining your goal and writing down goals. Now, if you remember the last episode of this podcast, I talked about negative motivation, the power of what I call negative motivation, of thinking about what's going to happen down the road. How am I going to feel if I don't do what I need to do, if I don't continue with pursuing this goal, right? This goes right along with that because the way it works is kind of this determination of, look, this is where I am now. This is where I want to be. And this is why. So let me give you an example of what I mean here. Okay. And I talk about this often of there's really two primary goals that I've had in my life that have caused me to leave my comfort zone, get past the disruption, stick with it, build a new comfort zone, and succeed. The first one was 36 years ago, 35 years ago, when I was 21 years old and decided to leave the job world and begin my entrepreneurial journey and joining that business, starting that business, and going from there. Look, I knew I wanted to be successful, but I was more focused on what I was leaving behind. Why did I pursue an entrepreneurial journey to leave the job world? Very, very simple. I couldn't stand having a boss. I hated it. I didn't like it. It didn't feel natural to me. And I just couldn't stand the idea of somebody else or an entity like a job or a business dictating my life. This is when you have to be here. This is when you're allowed to, enjoy your free time, weekends, so on. Tell me when I had to be there, what I can do, when I can leave, so on. I knew what I was leaving behind. Now, back then, I was too naive and immature to understand and be able to phrase it the way I am right now. I didn't sit there at 21 years old and go, what am I leaving behind? No, I didn't do that. But looking back, I knew why I started my entrepreneurial journey because I didn't want to have a boss anymore. That's what I was leaving behind. My first 2 years, I failed a lot more than I succeeded my first 2 years in that business. But what kept me going was more of not wanting to go back to what I left behind. The idea of going back to a job and a boss, just I couldn't stand it. So I had to keep going. Now, the second part is my fitness journey that I started 4 years ago. And this is really relatable to most people because, as you've heard me say many times, fitness goals, more specifically weight loss goals, are the most common goal set in the world. That's the number one goal, is to lose weight. Well, 4 years ago, I had gotten to a point where I wasn't fat, but I was heavy for me. I actually had a good friend of mine say, man, Shane, I've never seen you as thick as you are right now. And that sucked. That sent, a chill down my spine. I couldn't stand how I looked in the mirror. I've always had kind of an athletic build, but I didn't at this point. My shoulders were gone. My chest was gone. My biceps were gone. My chest looked so bad that I wouldn't wear polo shirts because that's how bad I felt my chest looked. I was really at a point where I almost couldn't stand the person I was seeing in the mirror. I had a belly. And so, if you've ever had a belly before, you know that your pants are always falling down. They're always slipping down in the front because you have a belly and it's going to slide down. And I couldn't stand it. When I started my fitness journey 4 years ago, I want to reiterate, yes, I was excited about the possibility of losing weight and putting on some muscle and getting toned and maybe getting fit, of course. But what I was more focused on is what I was leaving behind. I didn't want to look that way anymore. I didn't want to feel that way anymore. And that's what kept me going. So, again, this is why this ties into negative motivation that I talked about last week. But reminding yourself of not why you're doing this, but it is along the same alignment of why, but more specifically, what is it that you're leaving behind? Okay. So here's what you need to do. Here's your exercise. As you should know by now, it's important that you set goals. Everything begins and ends with a goal, and not just in your mind. You have to write it down. You have to write it down. You have to surround yourself with that goal. Then, of course, you need to cultivate that goal. You need to surround yourself with images, phrases, whatever it is to get you excited about what your life is going to be like when you achieve that goal. But what you also need to do is you need to write down at least 3 points of what specifically it is that you're leaving behind. 3 points. Okay. Because, there's 5 areas of our life, not in any particular order. There's relational, there's spiritual, financial, which is all things money, recreational, and physical. Now, a lot of people ask me, what do you mean recreational? Well, recreational is maybe there's a hobby. Maybe I want to pick up a musical instrument and learn to play. Well, that's a goal. I'm going to join a bowling league and I'm going to get good at bowling. That's a goal. There's goals with recreational as well. So spiritual, relational, financial, recreational, and physical. You're choosing to take one of these areas of your life and you're choosing to take it to a new level. So that starts by setting a goal, writing it down, cultivating it. But it's very important that you write down specifically, why do you want to take that area of your life to a new level? There's got to be something about that area that you're not happy with, that you're not satisfied with. So what is it? Write it down in detail. Again, for me, 4 years ago, entering my fitness journey, it was, I don't like how I look in the mirror. I don't recognize my body. I don't like how uncomfortable I am in clothes. And it's gotten to a point where it's just so uncomfortable. I'm so out of shape. I just can't live with myself anymore. Because again, just like the negative motivation we talked last week, you writing down specifically what it is that you're leaving behind is going to fuel your motivation to leave that behind. And the days that you don't feel like doing it, you're going to do it because you're going to be reminded not only of your goal, but why you're doing it in the first place and what you're trying to leave behind. Okay. Because I want to remind you, the activity required to achieve our goal is easy to do on the days that you feel like it. But the difference between the 92% of people who fail at goals and the 8% that succeed is really comes down to certain things, like on the days that you don't feel like doing it, when nobody else would, you do it anyways. And you need all the fuel, all the motivation, and all the help you can get for those days. Okay. And that's what writing down and cultivating specific reasons why you're doing this and what you're leaving behind is going to help. So I hope this helps you guys. Hey, listen, if you haven't been to my website, Disruption-Factor yet, get on there. Go to the contact information, enter your contact information. So we have you. You're going to get updates and information on stuff that we're coming out with. If you like this podcast and it helps you, or if there's anybody that you know that is striving to achieve an area of their life that you think this could benefit from, share this to them. Follow us, subscribe to us. We're really trying to spread this out there. So have a great day. I hope this helps, and we'll see you next week.